Getting started. All right, here we are. It is January 25th. This is the first meeting, the first full fee agent mastermind. I want to keep this to 45 minutes. I thought 30 was too short, 60 is too long. So we split the difference, even though Chris Voss says never split the difference, but I did. All right. And we went to 45 minutes. So I want this meeting, guys, to be your meeting as much as possible. There's a couple of us on board here who have been into this for a longer period of time. Those being myself, obviously, and Todd Pearl out in Redondo Beach in California. And I know Melissa, if I understand correctly, what Ryan told me is you guys have been coaching to and using Chris Voss's methodology for quite some time. Is that kind of accurate? Oh, you're muted, dear.
We read the book last year.
Okay. Are you using it? Are they going with it? Or is it being implemented, or was it just like a book club type of thing?
It was a book club, but then we took it to another level where we would brainstorm and sort of like brain dump like all of like what he was sharing. So I have like a couple of those notes.
Cool. Love to hear your feedback and experiences. To share with you guys, I coach Ryan, and there were a couple instances where we went through and I said, what about tactical empathy? Ooh, and we talked about it. We sort of role played it back and forth. And as a result of that, the meetings that she had were slam dunk, in her words. So I just want to put just a quick qualifier on here, because people, every time I talk about this, people ask me, well, who is this guy? Why this guy? So if you guys haven't figured out yet, if I'm going to refer something to you, it's going to be vetted. I don't recommend anything that comes from the Feel Good Society of Sedona. Okay. I like stuff that's based in research, that's historical, that has real data behind it from a credible source. And I figured Chris Voss, who is the lead hostage negotiator for the FBI, negotiating for human lives, who out-negotiated Harvard's negotiation MBA program, probably knows a little bit about influence and persuasion. And then this book is taking his tactics and strategies and wrapping it exclusively around real estate. So the credibility behind it, once you start to understand it and start to adapt it, just makes a lot of sense. I think some of you are going to love it. You'll jump on it. We'll start to use it. Some people are going to look at this and go, I like it, but it's not for me. That's fine. It's one more tool. There's no such thing as a one size fits all. I will say, however, we negotiate for some money. Voss negotiated for human lives. And this is what the FBI does. So when the FBI is doing their job, they're really, really good at it, And that's why I sent this book. That's why I spent the money to buy it for everybody and ship it out so you could have one. Okay. So I'd like to get into the tactics a little bit. We'll talk a little bit about strategy and role playing. But let me just start out with this. Overall, how many of you have finished the book? Everybody finish it? A few of you. Okay. Anybody read it more than once? Close. Getting into it. All right. This is something, once you get through it, you're probably going to have to read it again slowly. Okay. Because it will fly in the face of everything you've learned about sales. It really will. It will challenge your thinking. So far, what's everybody's feel for the book? What's the feedback that you got from however far you've gotten?
I love it. I'm halfway through the book, and Steve just points out our value, and it's just so important in that not to waste your time and to, get a commitment before you schedule an appointment, which is huge. And I have to read it again, like you said, but I've really, really enjoyed it. I think it's one of my favorite books that we've read.
Cool. Good. Thank you, Melissa. Yeah. Anybody else?
I looked back on the times when I was the favorite or the fool. And I do a lot of my business comes by referral, or in a neighborhood that I farm really heavily. And so I'm not the fool very often. and both the times that I went on a listing appointment and I was competing, I was not the favorite. So it was like looking back, it was like, oh yeah, that's why she didn't list with me, because she'd already decided she was going to list with Jill.
They've already decided.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I'm just there to check a box.
Just about, I've had this conversation numerous times with, but I've spoken to other people that have read this book too. And that's one of the themes that really seems to jump out, favorite or the fool. So how do you know?
Proof of life.
Give
You
me an
ask the
example, Todd.
questions.
Yeah. Right. It's a
Vision,
real
vision,
simple question. Good.
vision drives decision, and the best indicator of how somebody's going to make a decision is how they made them in the past. So you're asking questions. He tells you not to use a why question because it makes people defensive unless it serves you. And this is one of the times that it serves you. There's a lot of great agents in our area that you could be interviewing or you might be interviewing. So why did you want to meet with me? What box do I check? And let them defend you. If they are showing a vision of working with you, then you can pretty much, after you vet it a little further, decide whether you're the favorite. And you might be if they show a vision of working together. If they're just talking agent, and it's kind of anonymous, you're probably the fool.
Yep. There's an old adage in sales. I
Mhm.
remember learning a long time ago. If I, the salesperson, say it, it's debatable. If they say it, it's true. Right? Beth, we talked about that earlier this morning. How did it come out in bold? What was it in bold?
I always said in the bold room, people don't argue with what they author. People own what they
People
author.
own what they author. There it is. So get them to tell you. Then it's gospel. Then all you have to do is agree with it. Yeah.
Mhm.
So
Favorite
I
of the fool. Good.
yeah, I agree with you that so reading it, it was when we're set to doing things a certain way, after reading it, it's like, ooh, okay, how do I ask that? Or because I go back to asking the same questions to get the answer, right? So one of the things the gentleman just said about how do they act, knowing how they made those decisions. And it says here on page 48, that requires deep listening. So asking those questions and listen to how they did things, listen to how they chose an agent, listen to how they make decisions, right? And the other thing, and I've known this is about them, right? So it's the you. How do you feel? It's not it's not anything about me. So as
Right.
soon as you start saying it's, well, I'm gonna do this and this is what we do, they shut off. You're not listening to me, what I want, how I want to do things. So it was
Right.
interesting.
Disconnect your emotions and from the outcome. Yeah. Which is a hard thing to do for salespeople.
And as soon as you're convincing, you're losing.
Mhm.
That's it. If you're explaining, you're losing ground. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Okay, let me go back for a moment to why question, because there are times when it serves you, and there's a lot of times, most of the times, asking why doesn't work too well. Who's got some thoughts on why doesn't work?
Hey, George, quick question.
Yeah.
Is there anybody know what page that's on? I'm trying to take notes in my book.
Which part?
It's about asking the why question.
Oh boy.
If you had it open, if you
Yeah.
don't worry about it. Okay.
I'm not sure which chapter that would be. It sounds like it might be chapter 1. Let me see here.
Okay, don't worry about it. Keep going.
Okay. Yeah. So what is it about why that makes it a dangerous question?
It automatically puts somebody on the defensive of having to explain themselves.
Or they wind up comparing themselves to others, right?
Well, and I think there's times, I think we talked about this today, George, but there's times when it's okay to say why. Like, why would you want your home to sit on the market day after day after day? Like, that's an appropriate why question to ask the client. It's very tricky though. You have to be very aware when you're using why.
Got to be really careful, really careful. I'll give you one example. Maybe that's just, again, this is one of the first things they taught us in coaching, which I do it from private practice anyway. What, who, where, how, when, perfectly fine. Almost always safe with those. Why can be dangerous. And some of you already heard this, but I have a client who's a new MAPS coach. He was having some trouble with talking to clients, and then they're finding another coach. So he sent me a recording, and he gave a script to this potential client, and she reeled back and said, "Oh, I could never do that." And he just looked at her and goes, "Well, why not?" And that was it. I mean, and that was the third time. There was the third time he asked her why. The rapport was destroyed at that point. She was polite and kept smiling. She actually laughed it off, which was a really nervous laugh, and she was done. And 24 hours later, she requested a transfer to another coach, and he didn't understand why. He thought he was doing a really good job and coming from curiosity. But why not is really judgmental. How could you do that in a way that would be more comfortable for you is a better question. So just keep that in mind when you're talking to clients. Watch out for the whys.
Or just the mirroring. Can't do that. And then they'll start talking.
Or tell me more.
Yeah.
Tell me more is another one. Yeah. Yeah. All right. So, how many of you, as you start getting into this, are feeling a little bit confused with these tactics?
I feel like I have to go back and read them again. You know,
Over
like
and
I
over.
read the book once, but now it's like, now let's go back and do a deep dive on them.
Good. Okay. I just want to throw this out for you guys for consideration. If you're feeling confusion, that is perfect. It's perfect, because confusion that you're feeling is proof of two things. One is that you're challenging your own thinking. So if you're going to read something that's new and it's not challenging your thinking, unless it's entertainment, why even bother? Okay. So confusion is evidence that your thinking is being challenged. But here's the optimistic part. Confusion always precedes understanding. Always. Everything that you've ever mastered, you were originally confused with. Okay. So embrace your confusion, lean into it. You'll be all right. All right. What about the tactics? I've got a list of them here. Tactical empathy, the accusation audit. I love that one. Mirroring, Todd threw out an example of that. Labeling, no-oriented questions, summary statements.
Proactive listening. That's one
Proactive
we
listening.
talked about today.
Mhm.
That's one I'm working on.
Who's tried any of these in the field aside from Todd, because he's been doing it for a while? Anybody yet?
I've used labeling. I was really hesitant until I read this book, because I always felt like I needed to get that spot on. Like if I didn't get it spot on, then I wasn't truly listening. But he brings up a good point that it gives them an opportunity to give you some, provide some clarity around that, right? Like you might say, well, it seems, that you're angry, and then they'll correct you with really how they're feeling, even though they haven't expressed anything prior to that.
They're
So
So they
usually
didn't
kind
act
of-
angry?
I
Sorry.
feel like a lot of people are on the defense when you first call them.
There's almost like an innate impulsive response to correct. They want
Yeah.
to correct. And so mislabeling is sometimes a good strategy to use as well. It's what you're saying is not right, but you know that they're going to correct you.
Right?
Yeah.
It seems like you're really frustrated. No,
Mhm.
I'm just a little bit confused.
Yeah.
Confused.
Tell me more.
Yeah, I
Confused.
don't understand. Blah 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 blah. Yeah, and that because so many times what they're throwing out is not the objection anyway. It's not what's really bothering them. So even if you label it correctly, it seems like you're really frustrated. Yeah, I am. Good. Now your feeling is that I understand you. We're on the same page. Right. Let me go all the way back to chapter 1 in this book, which I think is the way, what's his name? Steve Scholl wrote it, I think is really smart. You're not on the other side of the street yelling at the person over here. You want to walk
Mhm.
across the street, get arm to arm with them and look at the world their way. You know, I think I mentioned this earlier. If I'm standing, I'm saying, hey, the sky is blue and prospect says it's green. No, it's blue. But if I walk over there and put my arm around him and we're looking at the sky, say, yeah, you know what? It does look green. Cool.
Mhm.
It's hard to argue with somebody when you're on their side. So I think
Mhm.
that's one of the key components of this. Empathy means I can see the world through your eyes. Using it tactically is to move the whole thing forward.
Yeah.
Okay. So what out of these different strategies, out of these different tactics, if you were going to pick one and play with it for a week, just one, what would it be? Don't all jump in at once. It's okay, you know. Yeah. Put you on the spot. Yeah, I'm not going to say I'm going to hold you accountable to this. Right? Let's just play with it a little bit. If you were going to pick one, which one would it be? Would it be labeling? Would it be mirroring? Tactical empathy, accusation audit? What would you choose?
I've already a few times used the mirroring on my husband, just because he, knowing I'm a coach, he or have been a coach, he's very, you know, that whole tell me more about that. He doesn't fall for that. So just the whole like repeating the last three. Oh, really? Oh, he said blah 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 blah. I mean, it's a little more subtle.
Yeah. And what happened as a result, Beth?
He just kept talking, which is amazing. We just ate dinner and I forget what it was, but I used it at dinner. Yeah.
It's so painfully simple. And I think that's why some people discount it.
Yeah.
I learned in NLP to build rapport. You got to sit like they do, move like they do, match their mirroring. I used to teach it. Match their breathing, all right? Match their pace, their tone. And all that stuff can just backfire on you unless you're really skilled at it and you're doing it very, very subtly. But just repeating back the last 2 or 3 words very softly with curiosity, it's incredible how it opens things up. Who else? Who else has tried something?
I think labeling is the easiest to use.
How so, Todd?
You're just looking for the emotion on the other side. So it's, it seems like, it sounds like, it feels like. I just think that that's so easy to incorporate into what you're saying.
Mm-hmm. Why not you look confused? Or what I'm hearing is, why not that?
You can use you look confused, but not what I'm hearing is, because that puts the spotlight back on you.
Yep. And saying it seems that it makes it even more neutral, because now you're just observing an emotional state. Yeah. So here's the thing that forces you to really focus on the other person at a level probably much higher than you're used to.
Mhm.
Doesn't it? Ooh, that was a tie down. Wasn't it? That was another one. I can't help myself, can I? They just sneak out, don't they?
That was a
habit
trap.
after a while, doesn't it? Oh no, he did it again, didn't he? Ah! All right, I'm
Yeah,
done.
yes, trap. Yes, trap.
So George, I'm curious about this. So if, you know, in NLP, they teach you to pay attention to people's preferred modalities. So if you have someone that keeps saying, it sounds like, or I hear, or would you like mirror that and say, well, it sounds like blah, blah, blah. If you know that they're auditory or they're visual, you might say, it looks like this.
Yeah.
Or if they're kinesthetic, you might say, it feels like. Do you have a preferred way that you do that based on their modality?
I think that to answer your question, I got to go a little bit deeper on that question, Beth. I think that you're not going to go wrong if you do that. It adds one more layer of communication. The
Mhm.
challenge with that is what you hear in the classroom in NLP and the way people actually speak it's harder to figure out what it is.
Yeah.
It is. It's harder to figure it out. And I've been doing that for a long, long time, and still sometimes I'm not quite sure. Are they auditory, the kinesthetic, but it's hard to know.
Mhm.
What I like about Voss's thing is it's simple. The last 2-3 words that they say, just toss them back with curiosity
Mhm.
and with a late night FM DJ voice. If you can master that one, it slows everything down. No judgment, just you don't understand. Just nice and soft. Total curiosity, not manipulative.
Hmm.
It's easier.
I think
Mhm.
like for the auditory, if you keep going with it sounds like, it sounds like, it sounds like, I think they're going to start thinking you're kind of one track and they might start phasing out themselves. But I think that you can use that the majority of the time, but I think you should probably also incorporate it feels like or it seems like, just so you keep you're trying to create that emotional bond. And so I think that that's one way to keep you on the right track.
Okay, thanks.
More about making sure that they feel understood, which I think is one of the key elements behind the whole process. Yeah. I mean, if you're talking auditory, you can also say like, so how does that sound to you? Well, it rings true to me. Sounds like a good idea. I mean, things, you can do different things. I hear you, things like that. But that's harder to do because you got to change your language now. And,
Mhm.
and sometimes you're thinking so hard about, do I use the right word, that you're going to be disingenuous.
Yeah, okay.
And you're going to be able to demonstrate that you've heard them when you go to paraphrase after you've used the labels in the mirrors.
Summary statements. So you can hopefully get, that's right.
Mhm.
All right. So Todd is a fan of labeling as the first tool to use. Who's got the cojones to try it out for a week? Or to pick one of these things and try them?
Yeah.
To try mirroring. To try, Beth already did it with her husband, with the guinea pig. There's no money on the line, Tim, how about you? You're looking there.
Yeah.
Yep. I see you off mute, smiling.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I'll probably, you know what? I will try mirroring tomorrow night with my wife on our date night.
On your date night?
Yeah.
Seems like you're a little anxious about that.
No. No. No, I just think that
That's all. That's all I wanted to do. The
Okay.
hardest part of this whole thing is lay it out there and shut up. Did you notice how uncomfortable that silence? Who else was squirming because of the silence?
yeah, right. Yeah.
I'm going to be quiet. He's going to keep talking. That's all I wanted to do.
Yeah, right.
That's a skill.
Mm-hmm.
It is hard to just sit there and be quiet. Thank you,
Yeah.
Tim. Thank you for volunteering.
You're welcome.
No, so what, all right, there's a real simple little role play. What did you get?
Use the mirror first, and
Yep.
he wasn't that responsive. You went to the label. He still wasn't giving you what you wanted,
So
but you went
no,
to you went to silence, and then he started talking.
Yeah.
Why did you start talking again, Tim?
Because it felt uncomfortable and I felt that you didn't understand me.
Right. And how important is it that I understood you?
Very important.
Right. So if I don't understand and I'm quiet, you're going to make sure that I do.
Yeah.
Tactical empathy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now I can understand where he's coming from. Now we can have a real conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Right. The amazing thing, I think, guys, about this stuff is when you start to play with it, you'll realize how absolutely, and Todd, tell me if this is off base, how absolutely simple it is, but it's not easy.
Yeah, it's not easy, but it becomes simple, but it's not easy. Especially the yes trap and learning how to do no oriented questions.
Yeah. Yep.
And the accusations audit. That one is going to feel really uncomfortable.
Yeah. Yeah. If you can get that one down, I'm working with, he's not online now. Working with an agent right now who wants to start calling expired. So he sent me the script that he was using. And it's just, I mean, the first opening line on this was this convoluted sentence. I couldn't even understand in reading it what the purpose of it was.
Hmm.
And so many people are calling expireds or FSBOs and they're just blah, you know, blah on the phone. And the philosophy is, well, just keep on banging through. So if you make 200 calls, you'll get one.
Mm.
God, who wants to do that?
Yeah, let me.
What would happen if the call sounded something like, hi, this is George Gillis from Keller Williams. You're probably sick of having another realtor call you. You're probably thinking, what does this guy want? He's going to tell me how he can sell us. You're probably even wondering, how can I get off the phone with this guy right now? And I don't even know if I could help you, but would you have any objection to keeping this call to less than 3 minutes?
I think they would laugh. They would chuckle a little bit. They would
Yeah.
feel like this is like a breath, not a breath of fresh air, but just like relieved that it doesn't feel like it's going to be a sales call.
Not the same crap. I don't even know if I could help you. Would you have any objection to keeping the call to under 3 minutes?
No.
And getting the minimum amount of information and then having a closing question, something like, would it be crazy to assume that maybe we should get together? Would you have any objection to me coming over and seeing if this is something I could help you with? No, 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 no.
Yeah.
Doesn't it just sound less salesy?
Mm-hmm.
And so it's a challenge. But man,
Yeah.
ooh, man, I'm gonna hear the wheels turning.
Voss says that
So-
people will die for their autonomy, and then he uses give me liberty or give me death. Our country was built upon that. So if you give them the opportunity to say no, they have like kind of a deep breath, and they feel like, okay, now I can open up. It's just like he gives the example also of your kids. Your kids are relentless with, can I have this? Can I have this? As soon as you say no and they ask again, you might give a little bit more than you did the first time. And that's the way that this all kind of works.
Can I, Tim, you got something? I just saw you. Okay.
No, I was just, affirming. Yeah.
Okay. Can I be blatant, fly outside the KW rule book here and be blatant about some sales training? Would that be
No.
okay? Just to make a point. Would anybody have an objection to that?
Nope.
A question like, you want to get the most money for your house, don't you? No, I want to take a loss. You want to be able to sell it as quickly as possible, right? No, George, spread the process out for 2 years. I mean, who's going to say no to these questions?
Right.
You want to get the most money for your house, right? You want to sell it quickly, don't you? It's important that you're able to get to see your grandparent, to live closer to your grandkids, isn't it? But how meaningful is the yes?
Yeah, they feel manipulated.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. But if you turn it around, would it be ridiculous to assume that you want to get the most profit?
No.
Right? No. Go. You with me? It's a conversation. Scripts move you through a conversation that somebody else imagined in their head. Think of this. You ever been bowling and they put the gutter guards up in the gutters so the ball bounces around and so it always hits the pins? I think of this stuff as the things in the gutters. It's just guidelines to guide your conversation along so it's actually natural. And these are tools that you use at the appropriate time.
A lot of these tools go against what we've been taught.
Almost all of them.
And that's what makes it difficult is, as we spoke today, you have to stop and think about what you're going to say.
And to think about what you're going to say, what has to happen first.
You have to listen and understand and see it from their view.
And what's
And
the
practice
number one?
and practice in a low stakes environment like
Practice
Tim
in low stakes.
with his wife and Beth with her husband earlier at dinner tonight.
Yeah, or even back and forth in your own head. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, and yes, it's different. It flies in the face of everything that you've learned about sales. It really does.
Which goes along with the shifting market. We're shifting our tactics for the shifting market.
There you go.
And we're shifting
be-
our tactics to stuff that actually has proven science behind it. Yeah.
It would be interesting to take the scripts that we've all been taught and reformat them.
Yes, it would. And I would
Just write
suggest
them
you
out
do.
and reformat them. How would I use them with another agent? How would I use them with a buyer? How would I use them with a seller? How would I use them with your husband? You know, where are there examples that you could take what we've already been taught and what many of us have taught and turn it around so that it
Yeah.
fits this model?
How different is this from what's taught in Bold, Beth?
Very.
The old bold, very different.
Very
Yeah.
different. Yeah. Okay. I know they've made some changes, which is good. I was
Yeah,
on a
love it.
seminar, one of the holiday calls, not going to mention which one. But I was waiting. I was watching the clock. 9 minutes in to the call, the person who was running it basically said, essentially said, if you get them to say yes to all the little things, they'll say yes to the big one. Momentum selling, which originated back roughly in the mid 1950s from a guy by the name of J. Douglas Edwards, who created the tie downs. So those techniques of tie downs, 60 or 70 years old. And people feel manipulated by them today. Don't you feel kind of manipulating saying it? Always getting right and yes. And
Mm.
Well, the way you said it, right? Like you want to get the most money, right? Like duh.
yeah, right. Right.
Just person, do you mind, making a little more money? Would that be so awful? No.
Yeah, right. Would that be so awful? There's a nice way to put it. Yeah, yeah. No, that wouldn't be awful at all. Right.
But Todd said it. You get them to say no. Okay, and it empowers them. I think that's also I was reading, gives them that power.
They feel
That
safer. They feel safer and more powerful. Yeah. All right. What would be the best way to move forward on this? If we do this every Wednesday, which I'd like to do until we're feeling comfortable, what would be the best way to do this? What do you guys want? What would be the best way to learn? Ouch.
Practice. Pick a pattern this week, pick 2 or 3 things and just practice. And just so that it's in your awareness constantly. Because the more
Okay.
you practice, the more unconsciously competent you become at it.
Spoken like a true Bold coach. Beth has Bold in her blood. She cut herself recently and the blood actually spilled out and spelled BOLD on the
It was
floor.
not
amazing.
purple. I haven't been in a bold classroom in 3 years. Come on
Oh,
now.
you could take the girl out of bold, Beth, but you can't take the bold out of the girl. That's all.
That's
Okay.
exactly it.
All right.
But I agree
It
with
might be,
that.
Should we
Go
pick
ahead.
one then? Good, Todd. I was, you had something good.
I was going to say that I've been on the Zooms with Steve Scholl when he does this stuff with people that he has coached during the pandemic. And a lot of times people would bring a scenario that they were about to face in and role play it in the Zoom.
We could
Oh,
do that.
that's a great idea.
We could do that.
Yeah, that'd be
Okay.
great.
All right. So I love that. All right. So would it work best if you have something like that, send it to me and I can filter them out so we can sort of set it up? Or you just,
Yeah.
you want to do that? Okay.
Yeah. And then to Beth's point about the scripts, I put into the chat the MAPS coaching conversations that they just recently put out. So there's, we could take time trying to deconstruct those and put them into tactical
I
empathy
think
as well.
this is the exact one. Yep. This is the one. If you want practice on how to rewrite this, click on that link and there's so much in here.
Oh, yeah, that's good.
So much in there that we can rewrite and we can black swan it. Let's call it that from now on. We'll call it, we're going to black swan this stuff.
And I was
by
going
the
to say
way-
also,
Good,
if
good.
anybody is like interested in digging even deeper, Chris Voss puts out so many
So much.
YouTube videos. He and his organization, so the
Mhm.
Black Swan group, puts out stuff so you can watch hour-long sessions, you can watch little shorts.
Yeah.
But I put it on whenever I'm in the car, the mobile classroom, and especially if I'm about to go to an appointment, just so I
Yeah.
get in the right mindset.
It's good. BlackSwanLTD.com, BlackSwanLimited.com. He also has, I think it's still up there, Todd, the real estate sales course, which is an online pre-done. I think what was it, $199, I think, for
Yeah,
the course. You
yeah.
have X number of months to complete it.
There's
So-
there's two courses on there that you might want to think about. The first one is called Negotiation 9. So it's
Negotiation
the
9, yeah.
tactics. And then there's the one specific for real estate agents.
Yeah, it's rich. And if you like this, we're going to recommend that you dive in. Just inundate your brain with it, because the hardest thing about this for us is we've learned to do things this way, and we've done it this way for so long. And this is so contrary to what we know that switching gears is going to be a little bit more of a challenge. But once you get it and you start to practice it, it becomes easier.
I have two more things and then I'll shut up. The Black Swan group is actually a YouTube channel. And then they put out a free newsletter every Tuesday called
Yeah.
The Edge that'll come to your email.
Yeah, subscribe to the newsletter. There's just so much rich stuff in there. All right. So we like this idea. Send me a scenario and I can frame it up for you and we can discuss it. Would we like to pick a tactic to play with this week? Everybody does the same thing and or you just want to pick your own and play with it and give some feedback?
I think it would be good if we did the same. I think Beth mentioned that. Or I agree with that.
Okay.
That sounds good.
You want to go with a simple one? You want to go with one that's a little bit more of a challenge?
Challenge.
There's the alternative choice close. The
Yeah.
challenge would be go for the accusation audit. That would be the
I think
challenge.
I think that's more of an advanced. I think a couple weeks
think?
in first.
You
yeah.
think so?
Mhm.
All right, Todd. I'll listen to you. What would you say? Mirroring is easy.
The mirroring's easy. Voss would usually challenge people to do the cold read. So like if you're holding an open house and somebody's walking in, this is the way to establish it so they don't run away from you or feel like you're, at Macy's, can I help you? Is just look at them, look at their body language, look and see if they're smiling. Hey, it looks like you're having a good day. Again, if they're not, they're going to tell you. And if they are, then you've just opened up the communication.
And it's said as a statement, not as a question. Looks like you're having a good day. Looks like you're having a good day. Downstroke. Looks like you're really excited to see this house.
Looks like you're looking for your dream home.
Mm,
Looks like you got money to burn. Looks like you got an 850 credit score. All right. Well, all right. I like that. Let's go for the cold read. Let's practice the cold read with some people and do them in a low risk situation. All right. Thank you, Todd.
And it's,
You helped me put the brakes on because I'd go for accusation order. I think that's just fun. Yeah, but
I
that's me.
I have the book up on Kindle, so I don't know if the page numbers are the same, but in Kindle, it talks about the cold read on page 43.
Sounds about right.
It's the same one.
mhm.
Yeah, 43, the cold read.
All right, there we go. We got agreement from everybody. Let's have some fun with this.
Yep. Mhm.
Treat it as an experiment. You're just out to learn. You're just out to play. Forget about the results. Forget about what can happen. Just experiment. Okay. As often as you can in low risk situations. Then when you want to try it in real life, you got it. Fair?
Yeah.
Fair.
There.
Doing it on, I can't help myself. Is that fair enough? How do we turn that around? I'll work on that for myself.
We can't, can we?
All right.
Good job.
So everybody do like this, all right? Take your index finger, right hand, point it out right in front of you. Go on, do it. Jorge's got his camera off, chicken, right? Turn it so you can see your nail. Okay. This is going to be you after 1 week of Black Swan. Bring it all the way up to your lips and go. That's about where you'll be after a week of doing this stuff, but it'll be fun. All right, everybody. We will see you next week. Let me know how it goes and send me your scenarios.
Thanks,
Bye.
guys.
Thank
Thank
you.
you much. Todd, thank you.
Bye.
All right, guys. See you.